Thank you, Chris. Valerie Milano from the Hollywood Times.
Welcome.
Thank you. I was here for your presentation the other day. Thank you for that.
Of course.
All right, beautiful. All right, so you're the sixth generation of the Martin family to lead the company. What does that responsibility feel like today, especially as music, artists, and technology continue to evolve so rapidly?
You know, I'm so proud to be a Martin. I've always felt that it's a marathon, it's not a sprint. You know, at some point when I was younger, my father and grandfather handed me the baton. I'm happy that the guitar is still popular. My feeling about the acoustic guitar in particular, in this modern world where we are surrounded by technology, many people work in technology, and I meet people who work in the tech industry who say, Chris, it is so comforting to leave work and come home, put my phone down, and pick up an acoustic guitar and just enjoy making music.
That is beautiful. So you love it, we can tell. So when you walk through the factory or hear a Martin on stage, what still gives you that emotion, you know, this is why we do it?
For us, I think I'm very fortunate we have very durable, appropriate designs. I think, first of all, the guitar has to sound good, and Martins sound good. They also have to look good, right? There's something about the look of a dreadnought that's kind of imposing. You know, you get Johnny Cash up on stage with a dreadnought, people know they're going to hear some good music. So my job so someone at the show 2 years ago came up to me and they said, Chris, can I tell you what I think about your family's business? I said, I think you're about to. And he said, I think you and your family's business have one foot planted firmly in the past. I said, yes, I agree. And then he said, and I think you and your family's business have one foot planted firmly in the future.
There you go.
Yep.
I love that. So Martin is known for honoring a tradition without standing still.
Yes.
How do you personally decide when to preserve a classic design and when it's time to take a creative leap?
Yeah. So the classic designs, demand for some of them comes and goes. We have what we call small body guitars. Sometimes they're slightly out of fashion, but we still make them, and all of a sudden they kind of come back into fashion. I will say with going forward, I do feel a little constrained relative to, let's say, an individual guitar builder who can do anything they want. The wilder and crazier, the better. And I think if I went too wild and crazy, people would suggest that I needed to be institutionalized.
So sustainability has become increasingly important to musicians and manufacturers alike. How has Martin approached sustainability in a way that still protects tone, quality, and craftsmanship?
It goes back, my family's always been frugal. And so part of it was we always knew how expensive these rare exotic woods are. And so how can we best utilize them so that we don't have waste, so we don't have fall-offs, we don't have to throw something away. Plus, I'm selfish, right? I'm the sixth generation. I have a daughter. She's going to inherit the business. I want us to remember that sustainability helps a multi-generational family business remain multi-generational and family held.
I love that. I love that you're carrying that on to your family. Oh, she's going to cry, my Judy over there. Martin guitars have been played by everyone from legendary icons to brand new artists. What do today's younger musicians value most that they may surprise people who grew up in earlier eras?
So we're talking about Martin. I cannot comment on other brands and other guitars, but what I find with younger musicians is more often than you would expect, they are curious. Where did the music that I'm listening to, what influenced that music? So John Mayer, right? Big fan of John Mayer, read an article about John Mayer, and at some point John Mayer says, well, I was actually influenced by this guy named Bob Dylan. Kid may have heard of Bob Dylan, maybe they saw the movie, whatever. Parents listened to the music. Oh, I'm going to read an article about Bob Dylan, who happened to play a Martin. like John Mayer. And Bob Dylan at some point says, well, I was influenced by this guy named Woody Guthrie. You know, I'm going to read about this guy named Woody Guthrie, and there you go. There's a picture of Woody Guthrie playing a Martin guitar. Musicians, when they get into it, they want to know, where did the music come from? You know, people, I think, they dismiss how curious musicians are about music itself.
So in a world of digital music, AI tools, and short form content, why do you think the acoustic guitar continues to hold such emotional power?
It's the beginning of a sequence. You know, when we made guitars in the 1800s, they were called parlor guitars because they were played in the parlor, and that's about how much volume they had. Today, people want instruments. Now, interestingly enough, like the dreadnought guitar was developed during the Hawaiian music craze because people wanted louder acoustic instruments. But we're the beginning of a chain that's interlocked in this entire show hall. Okay, I'm going to put a pickup in my guitar, and I'm going to put a preamp, and then I'm going to buy a chord, and then I'm going to buy a PA system, and I'm going to buy a mixer. So we're an integral part of making modern music in settings where it isn't just the acoustic guitar all by itself. But we're the beginning of that sound. And that sound in the beginning has to be good so that as it goes through the pickup, through the preamp, through the chord, into the PA, it sounds as good as it did if it wasn't plugged in.
Thank you, Chris. At NAMM this year, what excites you the most where Martin is headed, whether it's product philosophy, a mindset, or a connection within the community?
So scan the booth. Just turn around and scan the booth.
The people?
That's what excites me.
Okay.
Look we're packed.
Yes, you are.
We're standing room
beautiful.
only. How exciting is that?
That is a beautiful thing, no doubt. So when artists, fans, or journalists walk away from a Martin experience, what do you most hope that they feel beyond just loving the instrument?
Well, you know, Martin guitars aren't cheap. They've never been.
Even though you're frugal.
They've never been cheap. I hope people say they're good value. Right? And I mean no disrespect, but if you buy a new Martin guitar from me and you take really good care of it, the guitar is going to last longer than you will.
That's a beautiful thing. And as we're starting to close, if someone picks up their first Martin guitar this year, what do you hope that instrument becomes for them over the course of their life?
Okay. And once in a while, and this is sad, I'll meet someone and they'll tell me about their first Martin. And I'll say, do you still have it? And they'll say no. So what I hope is that you always keep your first Martin.
Bravo. And finally, after all these years and all these generations, what does the soul of Martin mean to you personally?
I'm so proud. Okay, when I took over, business was tough. My dad rode the folk boom, folk rock boom, kind of came to a fairly dramatic end. Thank you, Eagles. They were the last significant folk rock band. They're back now. But in the 80s, it was all hair metal bands and pointy electric guitars. So I'm so proud that my colleagues and I were able to carry the company through what was a very, very challenging time. And thank you, MTV Unplugged.
Love it. Thank you, Chris Martin.
Good to see you.
You too, sweetheart.
Question. I'd like to know, how old were you when you first touched your first Martin guitar?
My parents were divorced. So I'm 9 years old going on, no, I was 10. And my grandfather Martin and my dad contact me. I would see them occasionally. It was a bad divorce. And they said, what do you want for Christmas? I said, I want a Martin guitar. And I still have it. I still have it. Of course I do, yeah.
So I'm 65 this year, or last year, and I want to learn to play the guitar.
Okay.
What Martin, what Martin, is there something for beginners,
Again,
you know?
I would recommend a smaller bodied guitar. Often people think I have to start with a dreadnought, particularly given your stature.
Yes.
I would look at, let's come over here.
Thank you. I want to play so bad.
This is my first guitar, but that's too small.
Okay.
That's a wonderful couch guitar.
Okay, couch.
You're
guitar.
sitting down,
Okay.
you're watching YouTube, you're trying to learn how to play the guitar.
Okay.
Something like this, or there's one more.
Oh, that's
That-
beautiful.
These are perfect.
They're
for you.
beautiful. Okay.
Yes. All right.
Thank you so
Cheers.
much. Appreciate it.
Yeah,
Thank you
thanks.
for taking the time.
All right. So Valerie Milano and Judy Shields here with the Hollywood Times today, HollywoodTimes.net. Thank you for joining us here at NAMM 2026 here at the Anaheim Convention Center. We'll be back for more.